So today I want to talk about the power within. And how do we awaken to that power? You notice it was very conscious that I said the word awaken. I didn't say we grow into it. I don't say we find it. We awaken to it because that power is in us. And so I went back and I started reflecting on the idea. I'm doing this in mind throughout the week while I was gone, and I reflected on the idea that we are greater than we can even imagine. We don't realize, but there's a power within us that is so great that it can accomplish everything. So I went back and I pulled out this quote from Ernest Holmes. And it says, "We are surrounded by an infinite intelligence. This infinite intelligence, it acts upon the nature of our thought and by a divine presence that inspires our thinking." So now I want you to really come to that and come into the idea that there is a divine presence. This presence is infinite, it's all-knowing, it's everywhere, it's always been. It has to be. There's nothing but this presence. And this divine presence inspires us to think. And when it inspires us to think and we come into these ideas of thought, what happens? We're surrounded by it. It's not only surrounding us, it embodies us because we're the expression of it. You see, spirit is an all creative power. And how does it create? It creates through us. Because it's through our thoughts. It takes our thoughts. It acts upon our thoughts. It acts upon our mental atmosphere. It does not act upon a single thought. It acts upon an atmosphere of thoughts. What is the tendency of our thoughts? And it takes that, and whatever your life is, it is that expressing. So it's really clear. Life is really simple. You want to know what you're thinking? Look in the mirror. I looked in the mirror and I got real fuzzy. I said, "What's the fuzz?" I know, I laughed at myself too, and I'm at that prickly stage. It's not fun. But I was there and I was surrounded by all these beautiful people meditating, and I said, "Oh, Lee, it's time for you to be a guru." And so I'm going to grow this and see what happens with it. Because life, here's the thing. Notice it says it inspires us in our thinking. It doesn't mean it's serious. Does that make sense? When we were walking around in Vipassana, when you're in Vipassana, you can't speak. You're doing nothing but meditating. When you're not meditating, you're walking to and from the chow hall, 2 meals a day, no meal in the evenings. And if you're walking and in your free time, you cannot look at another person. You cannot acknowledge another person. You cannot express kindness for them holding a door. You can't do anything. You have to be as a monk or a nun and do nothing. You have to be in yourself. You are totally isolated, and it's designed to do that. I want you to know, if you were waiting for the zombie Holocaust, all you had to do was look at the faces of the people walking around. Because you realize when they were shut out from the world, from the distractions, from the noise, when they were shut out from the phones, the internet, from all of that, they didn't know what to do. I'd be walking around like this. Just a little grin. You know what this grin is? It's Lee's shit-eating grin. That's a very spiritual word. I won't go into the ad, but John DeMartini knows the letters and the acronym for it. He tells me every time he talks to me. But you put on this grin, you see, and when you're meditating, I'm going to share something else. People meditate, they've got this look. Isn't it easier to meditate like that? Isn't that what you're doing? You're at peace? So I went further. And this idea of inspired thinking, inspires our thinking. It really came to me, this idea of the heart. And we talk about, I've been accused at times that I'm not very heart-centered. People say you need to feel more. You need to express your feelings more. You need to be more heart-centered. And I pondered that while I was there. And I want you to know that these people are just full of beans. Because heart-centered has been disturbingly misinterpreted. When I went into the religious science of mind and I looked at what Ernest Holmes said, heart Centered means divinely centered. An inspiration from the heart is a divine truth. It has nothing to do with sharing your feelings. It's about when you are heart-centered with someone and you're talking with them, you are speaking spiritual truth to them. And sometimes when you're speaking spiritual truth, it may not feel good to you because you're caught in the illusion that you want to be coddled, you want to be nursed, you want to be supported. And when you coddle, nurse, and support one when they're in this misery, what are you doing? You're actually helping them to create more misery. Because the idea of being heart-centered, speaking a spiritual truth to someone, is saying, this is where it is, and what we really need to do here is we really need to go back and connect you with Source. We need to connect you with universal mind. Because when you are connected to universal mind, all of this nonsense of being fearful, of being angry, of having poverty, of being ill, it all disappears, because when you are one with this idea of Source, you cannot be anything but fulfilled and healthy because it's infinite. You see, Spirit, Source, universal mind, God, has created everything. Every thought, every word, every action's already been created. It's all out there. Now we, in our humanness, get to experience it based on the level of our awareness. And the only way we can change is we have to change our level of awareness, because it's already there. If you're seeking abundance, all you need to seek is the connection and one idea how to bring greater service to someone. And when you find that one idea, and it's about serving someone, it's never about getting money. It's never about getting money. It's how can I be of service? Because when you're giving out service, it must come back to you in a form of energy. Because when you're giving out, you create a vacuum and there must be space. And when there's space, the universe just brings in more. Do you hear that? That's why it's like a pump, the old-fashioned pumps. We've got a lot of young people in here. Let me explain an old-fashioned pump. There's this pipe that goes down into the ground, way deep into water. And there's this handle on this pump, and you go like this, and it causes suction to happen, and when enough suction happens, it'll pull water up and send it out. But in order to get the water to come out, you've got to put a little water in, then you start pumping, and it comes out. If you don't put a little in, nothing comes out. But if you put a little in, even more comes out. You see, it's always, if you want more love, you've got to give more love. If you want to have more friends, you've got to be friendlier. If you want more health, you've got to do things that are more healthy. You've got to think healthier thoughts. You've got to be healthier in your mind. See, this is what we fail to understand. It's never about doing something. It's about who are you being. Because if it's already created out there, everything, you can imagine everything's already there. It's there for me, it's there for you, it's there for everyone. All we have to do now is imagine and bring that in so we form a mental thought atmosphere of that in our minds, and then the universe, the law, will draw unto us everything that we desire to have, to experience that. Now, that does not mean there's not work. So when I was there one night, this affirmation came to me. I mean, this was at 3:10 in the morning on Tuesday. This affirmation was very deep for me when it came, because let's look at it. I go within. When I say I go within me, not to my old thought patterns. I'm going within to what I believe is the divine presence. I don't go without and seek a psychiatrist. I don't go out and seek this person or that person or this person, although those people are great to help us. But when we're connecting, we want to go within to the divine aspect of us that knows all things. And we go within to that divine aspect, we know that will tell us. So you go within, you connect into oneness, right? And then what do we do next? And I live. See, now that you've caught within, you've got to live. You're here to act. You're here to what? You're here to create. So you can say, and I live, or and I create, because if you're not creating, you're not living. See, disease comes into our bodies when we stop creating. When we don't have a purpose that's bigger than who we are and we're into it, our body's saying, well, I guess they're done with this life. I think I'll start the deterioration process. See, it's all done in the mind and it's all done subconsciously. We don't know what's happening, but the mind has just got this idea that we're there to create. And once we're done creating, it's time to move on. So I go within, I live. Next line, in the awareness. You see, this is what the Vipassana thing is about. It was about becoming aware. And in Vipassana meditation, their focus is you focus on being aware of every sensation in your body. Every sensation, whether it's good, bad, warm, cold, soft, prickly, you are sitting there scanning your body over and over and over and over again. Now, you're just not scanning to feel the sensations. You're scanning to feel the sensations and become equanimous with them. Being equanimous means they're equal. You have no preference. You don't care about what's happening. You're not concerned with the preference of it. It's good? Okay. It's not good. It's painful? It's a subtle pain. Let me tell you, there was a lot of very deep pain. You're sitting in a position for 1 hour and you cannot move a muscle. Now think about that itch on the edge of your nose. And you got to get that friggin' itch. You got to get it, but you can't move. And then you're there, you're fighting it, you're crawling, you're trying to avoid it. And what are you doing? When you try to avoid something, you cause more of it to come into your life, don't you? And then if you focus on the pleasure, what happens when you focus on the pleasure? When the itch comes back, oh my God, now I'm not in pleasure. So this is the whole Buddhist philosophy of you're in misery. If you're attached in one way or another, whether it's good or bad, you're in misery. So this is teaching you to just become aware. Now, it's not just sitting in meditation. Are you aware in every moment? When you're talking with someone, are you looking into their eyes and are you aware of them and their God presence expressing? Or are you thinking about what you want to say next? Are you aware of the gifts that you've got? Are you aware that you're a whole and perfect individualization of universal mind, infinite mind? Are you aware that everything you've ever desired is already there within you? Or have you forgotten? We've forgotten. We forget quite often. It's our human nature. Okay, the awareness, then we come into what? That I am one. That's what we did in the meditation when I was leading the meditation. Did you notice the beautiful flow there? Did you see how we had the masculine flow starting where I took you down into the depth, what I felt I wanted it to be, and I released it into the silence, and then we had the feminine aspect come in and take you down to another level? And did you feel in that moment, there was a moment, a fleeting moment, where you lost your mind, you lost your ego, and you were just in a deep peace? That's the one. So we get to the one, and then what happens? We're with universal mind. I could have said God. I could have said spirit. I could have said all of those things. But as I process this, what came to me is this. We as humans anthropomorphize everything. We take a cat, and we give it human qualities. I'm sorry, it's a cat. We take our dogs, and we talk to our dogs like they're humans. They're not humans. They're dogs. You know, we've done all of these things, and we've taken God, this word God, and I'm through that. I've gotten past the anthropomorphization of God. But I know a lot of us haven't. So I'm putting a word up there that I think is acceptable. Universal mind. It's the seen as the unseen. It is the known as the unknown. It's that which always has been and always will be. It's that which is all-powerful. Is that not the same as the definition of God? But we're one with it. Okay? So then, after we go from there, this divine creation that is Lee said this is our purpose. There's two purposes, and this is the first. We have to establish, to build, and maintain a deep relationship with universal mind. This is the most important thing we do in our lives, is we have to build, First establish, know that it's there, then we've got to do the work. We've got to build it. So if you think coming on a Sunday is going to change your life, not going to happen. Just not going to happen. Who liked the raspberry? I'll give you another one. It's not going to happen because there's work involved with connecting to and building that relationship with the universal mind. You know, Gene and I have been married for 43 years. Do you think we've not put in a lot of work? The key thing is work doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be angry. It doesn't have to be mean. It doesn't have to be fighting. Work means time and effort. So we put in effort. When you understand, you know, I was talking with a couple young gentlemen yesterday when we were able to finally talk. A couple young gentlemen immediately gravitated to me. They're like in their early 30s. And one of them is in a relationship, about to get married. One of them's out of a relationship and thinking of another one. And they said, how long have you been married? And I told them 43 years. And they said, well, how did you do that? And I said, at first it was luck. I'm not going to lie to you. It was luck and lust. Or it was lust and luck. Let's go in the right order there. But then as we matured, we started to explore. And I shared with them how we uncovered our values. And when we uncovered our 5 top values, we linked our values together and we found out how we support each other. We intertwine in support. And in that entwining, there's never reason to fight. You always know that while they're different, they're there supporting you. And while you're different, you're supporting them through the good and what we perceive as bad. There's no such thing as good or bad. It's all a perception. Some people perceive that if you talk loud to someone, you're angry. In my house, if you didn't talk loud, you didn't get heard. Be a part of a Polish Sicilian family. You're going to hear a lot of yelling. I thought that was the only way to be. Then I met Jean, and you go to her house, and it was like this. Holy crap, there's a lot of low talkers. You know, when that episode of Seinfeld is still one of my favorites. I mean, when you got a low talker, I've got someone coming up to me. And now, I listen to a lot of rock and roll, and I blew out part of my ear on my right side. So I get these women, and they come up on my right side, and they're low talkers. And I have to take them, and I move them. And I says, talk louder to the good ear. See, but what am I doing? I'm being very clear, am I not? Because if I'm not clear, I'm not doing anything bad to them, am I? I'm not being disrespectful, but I'm being clear. Because if I want to have a relationship with someone, I have to be clear about it. Does that not make sense? So when you get to the point where you've established a relationship like this, brilliant insight. I love this because I so amuse myself, because this Spirit decided while I was at Vipassana that it was going to take between 2 in the morning and 3:30 in the morning to wake me every day and talk to me. Every day between 2 and 3, we would have these conversations. And you know, everyone's got to find a way, but Spirit and I literally talk. Is this what you're saying? And they'll go, yes, Lee. And then I'll say, this is what I want you to know, Lee. Because that's how I tend to process. So it processes, I see it. So then I came to the idea and I said, okay, I'm here doing Vipassana. What is meditation? And you know what? Meditation is very simply this. Anything that allows you to establish, build, and maintain a relationship with the universal mind. Taking a walk, holding your dog and rubbing your dog's head, playing with a cat, walking in nature, being in the hot tub. First thing I'm going to do when I get home is I'm going in my hot tub. I've missed it tremendously. But go in, you find that thing where you are centered, that works for you, and be still. Whatever you're doing, be still in your mind. See, it's not be still. You don't have to be still like this. You have to be still in your mind. You have to allow the monkey chatter, all the nonsense to just flow away and leave. And when you're in that stillness, there'll be a voice of some sort that comes to you that guides you. I don't know what it is for you, but I know it's there. So meditation is the key. This is number 1. This is the first pillar, and there's 2 pillars in our process of creativity. You establish, build, and maintain a relationship, and you do it with meditation. The second one is we have to constantly use this relationship to create. If you know that you are one with the universal mind, if you know that infinite power is within you, what good is it if you're not creating? I'm going to take everyone's favorite pastime in the United States. It's football. If you're sitting there all day long watching football, how are you using the universal power within you to create? You have become numb. You were not meant to be numb. You were not meant to be a spectator in life. You were meant to play in life. This is where kids get it. Kids get it because they're constantly playing. They don't want to sit still. They want to play. They want to be active. They want to create anew. They don't want to be bored. Kids got it right. The old farts don't. New people, I'm very earthy if you can't tell. So if I offend you, get over it. So when we're doing this, it's about creating. But think about it. You can't make something happen. You can't will it to happen. Because the ideal will is not making something to happen. The idea of will is directing your thought that you know that the universal mind will act upon. You see, will is simply the direction of our thought. That's all it is. And so what is it we do? We call it spiritual mind treatment. It's our form of what we call prayer. But spiritual mind treatment is baiting. You're treating the mind to know something that you desire to experience in your life. Now, I want you to know that you don't care about money. You don't care about a car. You don't care about a home. You care about the experience of it. Making sense? All you care about is the experience. So if you don't have something, you can experience it without having it because your mind is powerful enough to do that. I'm walking. There's about a half a mile path through the woods and around the complex where the men can walk. And all of a sudden, this affirmation popped into my mind. With every breath, I breathe in a more abundant life. Think about that. With every breath, I breathe in abundance. Think if that became your mantra. Think what would open up to you in the world. So when you're walking and you're doing nothing and you've got problems going on in your mind and your mind wants to think about the problems over and over and over again, what are you doing? You're creating a mental atmosphere. Forget the problem. Go to the mantra. With every breath, I think about a healthy body. With every breath, I experience deep and meaningful relationships. With every breath, I live in gratitude for the life that I live. With every breath, I give thanks for my uniqueness and my perfection in the world. Think about if that became your thing. You would not have to go into silence. You wouldn't have to do prayer. You wouldn't have to do any of that. You're a living, walking, talking demonstration. You're following what Jesus taught when he said, pray unceasingly. Unceasingly to Jesus was simply holding the thought of that which you desire, and as you hold the thought of that which you desire, it is done unto you as you believe. And when you're holding a thought, you're building a belief. You're building a belief based on the fact that you have a relationship with the universal mind, knowing that it's all powerful, and with that belief into the universal mind, bam! You turn around, there's a Ferrari. You turn around, there's your life partner. You turn around, oh, my back's not hurting anymore. This came to me this morning. Everything that happens to us causes us to personally evolve and gradually awaken to our true relationship with universal mind and the laws that it creates. Everything that happens to us is awakening us to that relationship. And as it awakens us to that relationship, it helps us to understand what these universal laws are creating in our lives. You see, what we teach at Agape, which is based on the teachings of science of mind, which was originally called religious science, and I love that. I love to call myself a religious scientist because what I do is I take natural spiritual laws that are immutable, that cannot change, and I prove them in my life over and over and over again. Being a religious scientist means I don't take anyone's word on anything. I prove it for Lee. Because here's the thing, you will never learn anything that I teach you. I can't teach you anything. I can open your mind to an idea. I can inspire you to look at something. But the only way that you learn is through your own personal experience. Children, adults, doesn't matter who, your own personal experience. So why not take the bull by the horns and say, I am one whole, perfect, divine expression of God. And there is a power within me greater than I am, and I now choose to use it. And I am going to make a decision. And that decision means I will not turn back, because when I decide, I'm leaving no recourse but to go forward, and I now choose with every breath that I breathe to live more abundantly. I know who you are because you're a mirror to me. You're a mirror to me that you are an individualization of the universal mind of God, like I am an individualization of the mind of God. And if I can know this for me, I can know this for you, and you can know it for me as well. It's a reciprocal thing. This is what it means to be in community, to know truth. But most importantly, this is what it means to live from the heart. Be still and know that you are one with all that exists, and all that exists is one with you. Let's pray. I want to thank you for joining us today. I am so grateful that you took your time to watch or listen to this message. If you found this message beneficial, I would ask you to go to our website. Once there, click on the Contribute button and experience the joy of conscious and purposeful giving. It is through your gifts that we are able to bring this message to the world. I would also ask you to please share this message with anyone you feel might benefit. Again, I want to thank you for joining me and the Agape community as together we bring joy to life.